At that time, again, Mahamati, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, requested of the Blessed One, saying, "Pray tell me, Blessed One, pray tell me, Sugata, regarding what characterizes wrong discrimination. Blessed One, tell me as to the how, what, why, and who of wrong discrimination, which, when arising and going on, constitutes what is known as wrong discrimination. That is to say, to what kind of thought is the term wrong discrimination applicable? Or what kind of discrimination is to be called wrong?" The Blessed One said, well said, Mahamati, and again, well said indeed, Mahamati. You who have been admitted into the order of Bodhisattvas, Mahamati, think of this matter which is worth asking about, for the welfare of many people, for the happiness of many people, because of your compassion for the world, for the benefit of the multitudes, for the welfare and happiness of celestial beings and humankind. Therefore, Mahamati, listen well and reflect well within yourself as I tell you. Certainly, Blessed One, said Mahamati the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, and gave ear to the Blessed One. Then the Blessed One said thus to him, when the multitudinousness of objects is wrongly imagined as real and attached to, discrimination goes on evolving, and, Mahamati, as people are attached tenaciously to the notion of grasping, as they have not ascertained in their minds as to the nature of the objective world, which is no more than the mind itself, as they have fallen into the dualistic view of being and non-being, and, Mahamati, as they are nourished by the habit energy of the views and discriminations of the philosophers, they perceive the multitudinousness of external objects as real, and become attached to them. And for this reason, a system of mentation, mind and what belongs to it, is discriminated and spoken of as real, and with the assertion of an ego soul and its belongings, the system goes on functioning. Said Mahamati, as you say, Blessed One, when the multitudinousness of external objects is wrongly imagined as real and attached to by people, discrimination goes evolving on, and they fall into the dualistic view of being and non-being. They nourish the views and discriminations of the philosophers, which are based on the notion of grasped and grasping. And as they perceive the multitudinousness of external objects as real and become attached to them, a system of mentation, mind and what belongs to it, is discriminated and is spoken of as real, and goes on functioning owing to the fact that the external world is not recognized as nothing but the mind itself, and that the multitudinousness of things is tenaciously clung to as subject to the notion of being and non-being. This being the case, Blessed One, the multitudinousness of external objects, which is characterized with the dualism of being and non-being, is to be said neither existent nor non-existent, and does not render itself to the formation of the philosophical views. Inasmuch as the external world owes its existence to discrimination, it in itself must be said to be devoid of all forms of dualism. Blessed One, in the same way, the highest reality is declared to be devoid of all forms of logical analysis, such as the means of proof, sense perception, syllogistic arguments, illustration, reasoning, etc. How is it, Blessed One, that while, on the one hand, the discrimination of multiplicity is said to go on operating on the strength of the attachment which attaches itself to the multiplicity of external unrealities, the attachment, on the other hand, to the highest reality does not give rise to discrimination which goes on functioning in its own way? According to the Blessed One, depending on attaching to the dualism of being and non-being, there evolve views characteristic of wrong discrimination, as when the magician, produces varieties of people that are not at all real and complete objects. Thus, signs of existence and non-existence are falsely imagined and go on so imagined. But in fact, existence itself is devoid of discrimination. If so, how does one come to cherish the dualism as held by a man of the world? Said the Blessed One, Mahamati, discrimination indeed does not evolve, nor is it put away. Why? Because there is no evolving of discrimination as regards being and non-being. Because the perception of objective realities is not real. Because all that is seen is to be recognized as nothing but the mind itself. Mahamati, discrimination does not evolve, nor is it put away. But, Mahamati, for the sake of the ignorant, who are addicted to discriminating the multiplicity of things which are of their own mind, it is said by me that discrimination, whose first function is to produce effects, takes its rise owing to the attachment to the aspect of multiplicity as characteristic of objects. How otherwise, Mahamati, can the ignorant and simple-minded have an insight into the mind itself which they discriminate, and see themselves freed from the notion of an ego and what belongs to it, and also freed from the wrong conception of cause and effect? And again, how can they recognize that there is nothing but mind itself and cause a revulsion in the inmost seat of consciousness? How can they have a clear perception of all the stages and attain inner realization of the Tathagatas, which transcends the 5 dharmas, the 3 svabhavas, and the idea of reality as well as discrimination? For this reason, Mahamati, I state that discrimination takes its rise from our attachment to the multiplicity of objects which are not real, and that emancipation comes from our thoroughly understanding the meaning of reality as it is, and also the meaning of multiplicity of things which evolve from discrimination. So it is said, those who, regarding the world as evolving from causes and conditions, are attached to these notions as well as to the fourfold propositions, fail to understand my teaching. The world cannot be predicated anywhere as being or as non-being, or as being and non-being, as it is discriminated by the ignorant, who regard it as subject to causes and conditions. A change takes place in the mind, and egolessness is attained. All things are unborn because they are born of causation. Anything that is born of causation is an effect, and from an effect, nothing is produced. From an effect, no effect is produced. If you assert this, you commit the fault of a double effect, and this double effect being untenable, no existence comes from an effect. When the samskrita, that is, anything produced, is regarded as free from the dualism of dependent and depending, there decidedly is mind only, and hence my teaching of mind only. The mind as norm is the abode of self-nature, which has nothing to do with a world of causation. Of this norm, which is perfect existence and the highest Brahma, I speak. An ego soul is a truth belonging to thought construction, in which there is no reality. The self-nature of the skandhas is also a thought construction, as there is no reality in it. The sameness is of 4 kinds: individual forms, cause, the coming into being, and the sameness of non-ego is the 4th. These are subjects of discipline for the yogins. There is a state which is removed from all philosophical views, free from imagined and imagining, of no attainment and of no birth. This I call mind norm. Of neither existence nor non-existence do I speak, but of mind only, which has nothing to do with existence and non-existence, and which is thus free from intellection. suchness or tathata, emptiness, realm of truth or dharmadhatu, the various forms of the will body. These I call mind only. Multiplicity of objects evolves from the conjunction of habit, energy, and discrimination. It is born of mind, but is regarded by people as existing outwardly. This I call mind only. The external world is not, and multiplicity of objects is what is seen of mind. Body, property, and abode, these I call mind only.